So welcome to Block 6 of Founders Lab Live, which is the pitch deck creation. And this is the journey that this is the section that we have been actually waiting for. So in the first 5 blocks, you didn't just learn about entrepreneurship. You, in fact, actually built something. You started by identifying a real problem, developed and validated idea, converted that idea into a lean canvas, created your brand and identity. And of course, you built the working MVP in the last section. So now we have one question. How do we tell this entire story to somebody else? And that's what we're going to do in this block. We are going to create a 6-slide pitch deck that takes someone from the problem you're solving all the way to what you need to make your startup happen. And here's the important part. We are not going to spend hours designing slides. We're going to, of course, use AI tools such as Gamma, Claude, and Canva to help us create, sharpen, and present the story. But remember, AI is not going to invent your startup story for you. The thinking has already happened in blocks 1 to 5. AI is, in fact, going to help us organize that thinking, communicate it clearly, and make it more compelling. So by the end of this entire block, you will have 3 things. First, of course, a 6-slide pitch deck. Second, you will sharpen that deck using AI feedback. And third, you will rehearse a 60-second mini pitch so that you can actually tell the story confidently, right? So let's take everything you have built so far and turn it into the story that someone else can understand in 60 seconds. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the snapshot I have already discussed about this entire journey. We started, in fact, with block 1, which was the problem sprint, and then we moved to the idea validation. In B3, we converted that thinking into lean canvas, which was essentially a document where you created your business model, and of course, from there you derived the revenue model. B4 gave the startup a brand and identity, and B5, we actually built the MVP. Okay, so you can think about, again, very simply, you have a problem, you know who experiences it, you have a solution, you have a business model, you have a brand. Okay, and most importantly, you now have something that people can actually see your experience. That's your MVP, minimum viable product. And our job in this block is to make all of that easy for someone else to understand, right? So let's get started. Look at the actual structure of our pitch deck, okay? You will have 6 slides, right? And you can see these boxes, okay? So there's one principle that I want you to remember is each slide has one job, right? Together, those 6 jobs tell a story that somebody can follow in about 60 seconds. The first slide is all about problem. And this is the one that you actually did in B1. So you can directly take from there, right? What pain are you solving? You already actually created the how might we problem statement. Now the job is to make that problem feel real and understandable. Slide 2 is all about solution. And this connects B2 and B3. That is block 2 and block 3. What exactly are you proposing? Don't give a long explanation. We want one clear sentence, especially, right, your UVP, unique value proposition, which is sharpened with the help of Claude. Slide 3 is all about market. Now, here we will answer who needs this and how many of them are there. You don't necessarily need a complicated market research report here. I mean, right, that you can do at later period of time. But for now, it's very important that you should at least even a reasonable estimate can help communicate the opportunity. Okay, otherwise we can discuss Tam, Sam, Som. So, but that's not the purview of this particular program currently. Slide 4 is all about business model. And this comes from your lean canvas, as I mentioned earlier. The question is very simple here. How does the startup make money? Your revenue model from B3 becomes part of the pitch. Then we have two elements that are new, right? Slide 5, it's all about team. And this is where you can ask a question, who is actually building this? And more importantly, why are you or your team the right people to build it? And finally, the last one, which is the slide 6, it's all about the ask. And this is where you tell the audience what you need to make the idea happen. It could be money. So you're asking for money. So give me money and I can actually build. So to convince, right? Or you may be needing mentorship. In fact, mentorship is more important at this stage than money, right? You may require time, right? You may require technology support. You may require some partnerships. Whatever it is actually relevant to your startup, that will be your ask. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to create everything from scratch. Okay. 4 of these 6 slides are already sitting inside the work that you've already done. And these are your problem, solution, market, and business model. These are largely coming from B1 to B3. So B6 is really about connecting your previous work into a story and adding the team and the ask to complete that story. So now let's see how AI can take these 6 ingredients and turn them into an actual pitch deck. Okay, so we're going to move from understanding the pitch structure to actually creating the pitch deck. Our first activity is to generate the deck using Gamma. So that's an AI platform which can, and if you just give prompts and it'll create, free slides. I think up to 10 slides it actually gives, but you can use the paid services if you want. But at this stage, I would suggest, because you just need 6 slides, you can just use the free version. Okay, so the activity is designed to take about 12 minutes, roughly 5 minutes to prepare the input, 2 minutes to generate the deck, and 5 minutes for the first round of editing. And notice something important here. We are not starting from a blank page. Most of the information we need already has been created in the earlier modules we've been taking, right? So what you do, first, take your startup name from the brand kit that you created in B4. So you may recall. Then bring in your problem from the HMW, how might we statement you developed in B1. Your customer will come from the persona work in B1 and B2. Your solution actually comes from the UVP developed in B2 and B3. Your revenue model comes directly from the lean canvas in B3. And finally, we need a simple, you can say, estimate of your market size, essentially how many people have the problem you're trying to actually solve. So our job is really to assemble what we already know into one coherent input. It should be like a storytelling. Once we have that paragraph, we can give Gamma a very straightforward instruction. We can tell it like, create a 6-slide startup pitch deck. This will be your prompt. We provide the startup name, of course, problem, customer, solution, revenue model, and market size. So it will be a paragraph. And importantly, we ask for a strong opening and a clear ask. Now, when Gamma generates the first version, don't simply accept it because it looks beautiful, right? That's very important habit when working with AI. The first output is actually a draft, not the finished product. So start by replacing all the generic, stock imagery with the logo and colors from your B4 brand kit. Then check your numbers. If Gamma has generated a market number, or let's say business model figure that doesn't match your lean canvas, your lean canvas actually wins, right? Please remember. So correct the deck. Now, let's look for slides that contain too much text. Remember, our pitch deck has to be visual. Okay, it should be visually appealing. Visual communication tool is really important. It should not be an essay. And finally, personalize the team slide and your real name or team names, and one line explaining why you care about solving this problem. If you want, you can add your photograph. That will give more credibility, right? So the workflow is very simple. Gather what you have already built, give AI a structured prompt, generate, review, and personalize. Okay. And that is exactly the mindset we want to develop throughout this particular program. AI does the heavy lifting, but the founder remains responsible for the thinking and the final judgment. So let's see the activity one live that we just finished. Right. As mentioned, step one is all about collecting your information from B1 to B5 that you have done. In fact, and more important, you can start with the startup name, B4 brand kit, right? For problem, you can just take the HMW B1 statement. You know your customers very well, you know your solutions. And there's a one simple prompt that we're going to use is create a 6-slide startup pitch deck. We'll put the startup name, then it solves what is the problem that you're going to paste for who is the customer and the solution, right? Likewise, revenue model, market size, everything. Now, what we're going to use is Gamma. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just click Gamma on Google. And this is the first gamma.app. If you just click it here, right? Since I've already logged in, you can actually see. I'll just click on create new, and with AI, then you can use any of these. I mean, so let's use first the generate. And once you click generate, you actually see 10 slides. We need 6 slides. We will just use 6 slides, right? And this box that you see, describe what you like, you can actually paste your information. Okay. Now, what I've done is, this is where the same prompt I have already pasted and added. So you can just read it yourself. Okay. So create a 6-slide pitch deck for study buddy. So this is your startup name. It solves the problem that students often hesitate asking questions or doubts. They're more comfortable sharing with their peers, right? Using the name of the solution. Now, what it does is that connects seniors to junior to solve their problems. This is the revenue model, which is commission based. If you can recall, 50 rupees you take, 35, 15, if you may recall. And the market sizes, let's say your school has 1,200 students, maybe 300 of them maybe facing this, take some assumption. So I've just used 300 students. And then I mentioned include a strong opening slide and clear ask. Okay, so let's just copy this and just paste it here in Gamma. And first it is going to create the outline. Let's see what the outline is. Okay, wonderful. So this is where the 6 slides are already there. Okay, at the bottom, you can see generate. Just click the generate and yes, it is actually creating the slides in front of you. Okay. So what it has done, in fact, the first slide is where it has mentioned the name of the startup. So you can actually put your logo then later on, and what it actually does. And then second one is the problem. Third one is the solution. The fourth one is how it's going to work. Okay. And then the revenue model, you can actually just see, right? This has market also. And then the ask. What is missing here is the team. Okay. So maybe what we can do is we can just remove this first slide. And yeah, so what we can do is we can just, let me just edit this. Okay. So we will just go back and this is the main prompt. Here I'll write the first slide should be the problem slide. The fifth slide should be the team slide, and it must tell why this team is the best fit. Then the ask slide. Okay, let's see. So this you have done, just generate it. Wait for a few seconds. Yeah, and this is where it has actually added the problem in the first slide itself. Okay, so here are these images which you can actually change. You can change the font or anything, but you've got actually a wonderful presentation. Okay. Yeah, so you can just look at the solution, how it works, right? And the team built to bridge, right? So what is missing here now is, let me just see if, yeah, so you can just edit if whatever is your name, just you can write, you can explain. You may sometimes, if you're not very sure that whether you're working as the CEO, you can actually remove that part, but you can always talk about your skills and what is the role that you're going to play in that startup, right? So if you're not very sure of these terms like CEO, CTO, you can remove them, just mention the roles. And here is the ask we are seeking. You can remove, for example, these dollars, you can write rupees, or let me just use the symbol. Yeah, something like this, right? So let's see what is not, yeah, how it works. Okay, so there is an explanation how it actually works. Then very good. Okay, closing. So what we will do is, right, so let's go back and do some tweak. Okay, the order is problem, solution, business model, customer, business model, then team, business model and revenue, then team and ask, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so let's do that. Yeah, now you see what it is actually doing. So what it has done is the business model, market, and ask, it has converted into one. So you have actually understood how this actually works, right? Sometimes AI may not be able to give you the perfect fit, which I have always explained, but it is still looking beautiful and you can always use, right? So here they have mentioned the revenue model. Here there is an ask and use of funds. You may remove all these pictures if you feel so. Perfect. I think you liked it. You can continue. Thank you very much for watching. Okay. Now that we have our first version of the pitch deck, we move into activity 2, sharpening the pitch with Claude. We have 10 minutes for this activity, about 5 minutes for copy refinement and Canva polishing, followed by 5 minutes of tough investor questioning. So the first thing I want you to understand is that not every slide needs to be rewritten. Look at your deck and identify the slides where the message feels weak. For example, perhaps your problem slide is technically correct, but it looks boring. It sounds boring. So instead of rewriting it yourself from scratch, you may, of course, take the help of AI, give the existing statement to Claude, and ask it to make the problem more exciting and easier to understand while keeping it to a maximum of 2 sentences, right? Or perhaps your solution slide is full of complicated language. In that case, we can give Claude a very interesting constraint. Okay, you can say something like this: rewrite this so a 10-year-old would understand what my product does. So that's not because our audience is 10 years old. It's because if the explanation survives that test, there is a good chance that the core idea is actually clear. And then look at your ask slide. A common problem with startup pitches is that the founder says something like, "We are looking for support," or "We need funding to grow." That's an opening statement that's definitely vague. Instead, tell Claude exactly what your ask is and ask it to make the request clear and specific. Something like, "What exactly would help and what would that support lead to?" Okay, this will be a prompt that you are going to give to Claude. So here, AI is not inventing your startup. Uh, you provide the substance, Claude improves the communication. Now comes the more interesting part. We are going to make Claude behave like a tough investor. It's really important to test it. So give it your pitch and use the prompt on the slide, right? You are a tough investor. You can start something like this: "I will pitch my startup to you. Ask me 3 hard questions after I share my pitch." Okay, that's there. And don't try to avoid, difficult questions. So that's the whole point of this exercise. You may be asked, why would someone choose your solution instead of, what they already use? I mean, that's a very common question, in fact. How will you actually make money? What happens if a larger company copies your idea? And perhaps the most personal question: why are you the right person to build this? Notice we have done right, what we have done. We started with a deck generated, quickly using AI. Now we are using another AI tool to attack the weak points in our communication. And that's the real value here. AI is not just helping us create faster, it's giving us a faster feedback loop: create, challenge, improve, and try again. So now that we've understood how to do activity 2, let's do it live. Okay, we have already created our pitch deck. You can actually see this is the pitch deck, right? In fact, you can download the pitch deck and I'll show you how to do that. But before that, let's understand activity 2 again. And it's all about, sharpening the copy. Okay, so if you feel any slide is weak, run it through Claude. Okay, so we have not read it, but still we are going to actually use it. So what you do is just open the Claude. Okay, if you have already signed up, and this is where it is. Okay, now what you do is we will just come back, and first we will come here, we will download. Let me just download it. So you can see these 3 dots. There's an export button and it says one slide is overflowing. Don't worry about it. Just click export to PowerPoint. And yeah, it has already downloaded. And yes, what we will do is I'll just close it. You can see it's here. So what I will do is I'll just add this file. Yes. Yeah, so this is where it is. Now what I'll do is I'll just copy this and paste it in Claude. Okay, and let's see what it does. Oh, in fact, it's actually creating a PPT. Oh, not. So this is where it is. So every day, students in our 300 student pilot silently struggle rather than ask for help, afraid of looking behind. If you feel that this is a better version of your problem, you can actually use it. Okay, and you can copy paste it. So for example, uh, you can just copy this. Okay, move to slide 2. This is the slide 2. And here you can actually use it. Right. You can use it. Or you can remove this entire thing and just paste it. Okay. And maybe you can sometimes remove this fear of judgment and all that and help accessible. Just one clean sentence. It's up to you. Okay. Then similarly, you can go to the next one. You can just paste it here. And let's see what it is. It's about the solution. So rewrite this so a 10-year-old can understand. And I can remove this paste part because in this, it's all about the solution slide is too confusing. So let's go to the solution slide. And this is the solution slide. You can just copy this. Or because you've already shared the deck, you can use it. Okay. So do for the solution slide. Yeah. So it's saying study buddy is like having a friendly older student on call whenever you're stuck. Just open the app, pick your subject, and chat or video call with them. I think I have liked it, and so let me just copy this and come here. Yeah, and I will put it like this. Okay, you if you feel that these things are not required, so you can actually remove this. Okay, so you can do that, and let's do the third one. Okay, our slide feels weak. If you feel that it's actually weak, just paste it. Okay, let's go to the ask slide first. The ask slide is seeking, you can just mention rupees, seed fund for MVP, use of funds, and all that. Okay, but we actually don't want 15,000 rupees. We basically want mentorship. Okay, so say my ask is mentorship. Okay, yeah, so this is where it is. So I'm seeking and so you can actually remove this and just put this part if you want. Okay, within, let's say, 1 month, right? I can move the framework to submission ready, something like that. So you can do all these changes. This is all about activity 2 at this point. Let's come to the step number 2. Step number 2 is all about tough investigator. So Claude will now act as this. So you're a tough investor, and let's say what it does. Okay. Okay. So study buddy. Okay, so let's do this one. Okay, and let's add this part. Right, so here is the pitch. The pitch starts from here. Everyday students in our 300 student pilot silently struggle rather than ask for help, afraid of asking, looking behind, and locked out by tutors that are too costly or intimidating to reach. That silence stalls learning and erodes confidence across the whole classroom. Uh, Study buddy, the solution is study buddy. It is like having, yeah, and this is clear, right? So you just can remove this and right. Let's see. See, Claude has started asking you the questions. Okay, what is stopping a senior from just not showing up? You're asking the students to give away their time for badges and points. That's not a business model, that's a hope. So what's the actual retention mechanism once the novelty of leadership leaderboard wears off? You see, these are very important questions. Then who's liable when the advice is wrong? Right, you're routing academic help through unverified peers. Now this is also an important thing because your teachers are professionally and these are verified teachers. You can trust their knowledge, but how do you trust a senior's knowledge? After all, senior is a student, so it's a very relevant question. The third one is, why does this stay a school funded or school approved product for every student just using ChatGPT for free? Okay, so maybe if you feel that these are heavy questions, maybe you can say, please ask some, okay, so please assume that we are the students from grade 8 to 12. So ask questions accordingly to start with. So don't get intimidated by the question, but these questions are actual, real, genuine ones. So you see, how much time can you realistically give this on a top school, on top of school? How are you keeping it safe? Why would a student pick your app over just asking a friend or something? So these are simple questions we've already discussed. Okay, so hope you like this. Thank you so much for with your activity too. Okay, now we move from preparing the deck to actually delivering the pitch. And this is activity 3, the 60-second mini pitch. So you have 8 minutes for this activity. You will pair up with a neighbor, right, and pitch for 60 seconds, receive one piece of feedback, and then switch roles. Let's keep the process very simple. Okay, first you can pair up. Now you may be thinking, I'm the only person and don't have pairs. Then ask AI. I mean, AI can act like your co-founder and listen to it. I think some good information you're going to get. Okay, fine. So first is you're going to pair up, decide who is going first. Both people will get exactly one opportunity to pitch and one opportunity to listen. Second, give your 60-second pitch. Your job is to walk through the 6 slides quickly, and you can use your laptop or phone screen if that helps. But don't start reading every word on the slides. And stay within 60-second limit. Third, the listener gives only one piece of feedback. Keep it very specific for now, right? You can say, I really liked how you explained blah, blah, blah. Or I would love to know more about something, right? Then you can swap the roles and repeat. Same 60 seconds, same one piece of feedback. Now, there are 4 small things I want you to remember while pitching. Start with the problem. Don't begin by telling everything about your product. First, make the listener understand why the problem matters. Say your startup name clearly, at least twice. You want people to remember what you're actually pitching. Control your pace. When we get nervous, we tend to speak faster. Slow down then, especially when you reach your ask. And finally, end with the ask. Even if this is a school project, your pitch should make clear what you want next. Maybe you want feedback from your principal, from some of the mentors, users. You may need funds. Maybe you want to pilot it or something else. The important thing about this exercise is that you're not trying to deliver a perfect pitch. You're testing whether another person can understand your idea quickly. And that feedback is extremely valuable. If your listener says, I understood the solution, but I'm not sure why this problem is important. In fact, that is useful. If they say the problem was clear, but I didn't understand what you're asking for, that is, in fact, useful too. So don't defend the pitch. Listen for where the other person gets confused, curious, or interested. Those reactions tell you what to improve next. Okay, so let's look at a complete example of what a finished, pitch deck can look like. In fact, this is not a finished pitch deck. This is just a snapshot of every slide and the key information that every slide contains, right? So this is actually Study Buddy, an example, a peer tutoring app created by a grade 11 student team. The idea is very simple. Connect senior students who are strong in particular subjects with juniors who need help. I think this is very clear. This is not the problem, this is a solution that I just spoke. Notice that the deck is built around 6 simple questions. First is, of course, what's the problem? And you can just read it out. So students may struggle with particular subjects, but they can feel uncomfortable asking teachers for additional help. At the same time, private tuition can be expensive or unavailable. So the problem is stated from the student's perspective, not from the perspective of the technology. Second one is the solution. What is the solution, in fact? So Study Buddy connects students who are good at a subject with younger students who need help. And notice that the solution is specific. It is not simply an education app. It tells us who helps whom, how the interaction happens, and roughly how long each session lasts. Third, what is the market? Okay, the students don't need to immediately quote a massive national education market number. They start with something they can actually understand, their own school. Maybe it has 1,200 students. If 20% need help in one subject, that's approximately 240 potential users. And that's an important lesson. A good student pitch doesn't always need complicated market research. Trust me, it needs a believable starting point. Next is the business model. The first session is free. After that, the student pays, 50 rupees per session. You can say like that, with 35 rupees going to the tutor and 15 rupees retained by the platform for prizes and rewards. Again, notice how concrete this is. So we can immediately understand who pays, how much they pay, and where the money goes. And then we have the team. Okay, so you can say there are 3 students and their personal experience with the problem. Either they've tutored juniors or they've struggled to find help themselves. That gives them some credibility because they understand the problem firsthand. And finally, we have perhaps the most important slide, that's the ask. They're not asking, they're not in fact saying we need investment. Okay, they're asking the school for something very specific, maybe permission to run a 1-month pilot with one grade and support in announcing it to students. That's what makes this pitch actionable. So when you build your own 6-slide pitch, don't think of it as 6 slides that you need to fill. Think of it as a logical conversation. Here is the problem. Here is our solution. Here is the opportunity. Here is how it can work as a business. Here is why we are the right team. Here is what we want you to do next. So, if those 6 questions are answered clearly, you already have the foundation of a strong pitch. Okay, now that we have seen the finished, pitch, let's look at the AI prompt library that can help us create and improve it. The first tool is Gamma. We can use it to generate a 6-slide startup pitch deck by giving it the startup name, problem, customer solution, revenue model, and market size. The important point is that AI can take the information we have already developed and quickly turn it into a structured presentation. Okay. Next is Claude's slide copy sharpener, right? Very simple. This is useful when the idea is good, but the slide contains too much text. We can ask Claude to make the message more exciting and easier to understand while keeping it under 25 words. The principle here is simple. Don't use AI to create content. Use it to improve the quality of your thinking and communication. Then we have the tough investor simulation. This is particularly interesting because we can turn AI into a practice partner. Instead of simply asking, is my pitch good? We can ask AI to behave like a tough investor and challenge us with difficult questions. That gives us an opportunity to identify weaknesses before we present to a real audience. If an investor asks a question and we don't know how to answer it, the answer helper can help us think through a confident response and, importantly, identify the information we still need to find out. We also have a simple Canva design checklist. Before finalizing each slide, ask yourself, is there one clear idea? Is the text short? Do the colors fit the brand? Is there a picture or number rather than just words? These are simple questions, but they can dramatically improve a presentation. And finally, we can use Claude to turn the 6-slide pitch into a 60-second spoken pitch with a defined structure from hook to problem, a solution, business model, and ask. So the bigger lesson from this prompt library is not that students need to use 6 different AI prompts. It's that AI can support the entire pitch building process, generating, simplifying, challenging, designing, and rehearsing. And that makes the founder's job much more about thinking clearly and making decisions rather than spending hours formatting slides. Now, before we close this block, I want to quickly cover some common mistakes that make an otherwise good pitch weaker. The first one is spending too much time on design. You might be tempted to spend 10 minutes, choosing the perfect gamma theme, adjusting colors, or changing layouts. Don't. If the first theme broadly fits your B4, brand colors, accept it and move on. Today, content matters more than colors. The second mistake is having numbers that don't match your earlier work. For example, your B3 lean canvas might say one market number, while your pitch deck suddenly shows another. That's an easy problem to avoid. Simply keep your B3 lean canvas, open next to your pitch deck and check that the numbers are consistent. Third, don't skip the tough investor step. Sometimes we think my deck looks good, so I don't need feedback. But that's exactly when you should test it. Even answering just one difficult question from Claude can reveal something you hadn't considered. In fact, this is one of the most valuable parts of the entire block. Fourth, make sure the ask is specific. Don't finish by saying, we just want some feedback. Ask yourself, what would actually help me move this idea forward? Maybe it's permission to test the idea in a class. Maybe it's access to potential users. Maybe it's a 1 month plot or pilot, right? Whatever it is, be specific. Fifth one, don't feel embarrassed about the team slide. As a student, you might think, why would anyone care about my team? But the purpose is not to brag about your achievements, it's to explain why you noticed this problem and why you're capable of working on it. Your personal experience with the problem can actually be a strength. And finally, keep the mini pitch within 60 seconds. If you're taking 2 minutes, don't try to speak faster, cut content. Ask yourself one simple question: what is the one thing I want my audience to remember? That's the idea that deserves your limited time. So remember, a strong pitch is not about making every slide perfect, it's about being clear, consistent, specific, and concise. We have now reached the end of block 6, and there's an important point in the Founders Lab, live lab, journey, right? You have taken everything you built earlier and turned it into a story that somebody else can actually understand. You now have a 6-slide pitch deck covering the problem, solution, market, business model, team, and your ask. But remember, creating the deck is only half the job. A pitch becomes powerful when you can communicate it clearly and confidently. So before we move ahead, quickly check these 5 things. First, make sure your 6-slide deck is generated and saved. Second, make sure the deck reflects the brand identity you created earlier, particularly your B4 colors and logo. Third, use the Claude investor simulation. Don't worry if the questions feel difficult. That's exactly the point. Difficult questions help you discover what you haven't thought through yet. Fourth, look carefully at your ask slide. Don't simply say we need feedback, ask for something specific. Maybe you need permission to run a pilot, as I discussed. Maybe you need access to students. Maybe you need mentorship resources or a small amount of fund. The more specific your ask, the more credible your pitch becomes. And finally, rehearse your 60-second pitch with another person and get one piece of feedback. Don't try to memorize every word. Know your story, problem, solution, market, business model, team, and ask. And that's your complete journey from an idea to pitch. And there's one more thing I want you to remember. You don't need to sound like a professional CEO. You're a student founder. What matters is that you can explain what you're solving, why it matters, and what you want to do next. That's what makes a pitch believable. And with that, block 6 is complete. In the next block, we are going to step out of the preparation mode and move into celebration, feedback, and certification. Thank you very much.